Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the match preview. Everton versus Aston Villa, which is now just a huge football match for the club. Duncan Ferguson will be in charge. He'll be the caretaker manager, facing off against Steven Gerrard, one of the most hated men ever to play at Goodison Park. It's facts. And now he'll be one of the most hated managers. We got rid of one of the most hated managers last week, and now the other fella in the dugout will be one of the hated managers. And it's a huge game, Baz, because Everton obviously are on a terrible run, are desperate for points. We come up against Steven Gerrard, we come up against Luca Dean. We've got Duncan Ferguson in the dugout with Leighton Baines and John Ebrell. And it's a huge opportunity in terms of getting some morale back amongst the fans and amongst the players, and it's just shaping up brilliantly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously things will have changed from Saturday night. They're going into this one, you know, after the Norwich defeat and Rafa Benitez being in charge, and I know a lot of people were dreading this weekend with Benitez and Gerrard on the touchline. Things have changed this week, so the feeling, the mood has picked up dramatically. This week, knowing that Duncan is in charge at the weekend, a lot of people can't wait to get in the ground, and it brightens the whole thing up. So it's needed something freshening up. It's the kind of thing that if we were in Villa's shoes, you'd be thinking, oh, they could have just waited a week, you know, because you've given a shot in the arm to a club that is struggling at the moment, and it gives us the opportunity to fully buy in to the team. I don't think people fully bought into it under Benitez. Yeah. I'm not saying they were against it. It was a bit subdued, and it's the opportunity for Goodison to be bouncing again at the weekend. There's the extra spices there, but obviously Steven Gerrard, like you said, Phil Coutinho, ex-Liverpool player there, and obviously Luca Dean, now playing for Villa, gives it that extra little bit of needle, that extra little bit of a spark, and our crowd love that. Our crowd like a bit of wronged or like someone to go after, and that can energise the players. And if they do that and they work hard, they can win, because they've proven, like if against Arsenal, who were on a great final when they come to Goodison and are still doing well. But when the crowd were up for it and the players responded, we beat them, and we can do it again at the weekend.
I think last week was obviously when Rafa Benitez run out of excuses. But I think this week is when the players run out of excuses.
Yeah.
I think it's the ball's firmly in their court now. They've had a manager who is disliked to hide behind so far this season. He's took all the flack for them. And I think on Saturday they've got no more excuses. And the spotlight will firmly be on them as players. How did they react? You know, listen, some of them will have liked how things were done under Rafa Benitez and some won't. But they couldn't raise themselves to it. And now they've got to raise themselves, because there's, you know, it's more than a manager now. It's the club's future at stake, and Everton, these players, you know, have to take a big portion of the blame for what's gone on, because quite frankly, they've been terrible. And I know some of them maybe didn't agree with the tactics, and one of those people now plays for Aston Villa. But they've got to start well. They've got to show straight away what it means to them, and be up for it, because in the last, just this season as a whole, the way we've started games of football, the way we've allowed the opposition to start stronger, take the lead, meaning, you know, how many, you know, all these games that we've had to come from behind in, straight away that shows you there's an issue. That tells you that players' mindset going into a game is not right, and that has to change. And that might be down to individuals and their general way of dealing with things, that they haven't got the attitude that's right to deal with the situation. But the ones that are strong have got to start influencing the ones who aren't, and start putting it on them, because this can't go on where we're weak at the beginning of games and we let the opposition, because certainly when you've got a crowd that isn't always going to sit there and go, this is fine. Because it's not fine. We're in a very worrying situation. And as I said, that's got to change on Saturday. That we've got to be at it from the start. And I know, the manager will obviously stress that and demand that. And others at the club will demand it. We've got to see from all of them. So it's week 23 on Ultimate Fan, and I'm going to pick my team for this week to see if I can win a share of £5,000. That is the prize pot this week. Let's get into it. Last week, I took Bruno Fernandes out the side, and what happens? He scores twice against Villa. I put Saka in the side, and Arsenal's game gets called off. Highly, highly disappointing. I did have Kevin De Bruyne as my captain, and I did have Manchester City as my team, so that was a big plus for me. So what am I going to do? Well, I think I am going to put Bruno Fernandes back in there. They're playing West Ham, I believe. So let me find Bruno Fernandes. There he is amongst my subs. I'm going to put him in for Saka. Arsenal playing Brighton at home. But I'm going to go for Bruno Fernandes. They're playing at home against West Ham. He seems to be maybe back in a little bit of form. So he's going back into my side. Romelu Lukaku has not been doing the business for Chelsea recently. He's not been doing the business. Chelsea have not been doing the business. I think I'm going to put Richarlison in this week. He's back. He's going to start for Duncan Ferguson's Everton. I can feel it. So I'm putting him in the side. He's going to play for me. And I'm going to make Bruno Fernandes my gold boot. Kevin De Bruyne will continue as the captain. But do I play Tielemans? This is the big question. Leicester, bad results against Tottenham. Do I keep him in the side, or do I go for Phil Foden? Difficult one, this. Man City got Southampton away. Will Foden be involved? We don't know. But I'm going to put Phil Foden back in the side, I think. Touch and go on the injury front. But I'm going to put him back in the side. We've got 3 Manchester City players, and they're my team. A Liverpool player, Manchester United player, and I'm going for Richarlison up front to provide some goals. Feel good factor. Let's hope that does it. And let's hope that gets the points to earn me some money and some of that £5,000 prize pot. Don't forget, if you want to play, the link is in the description. There's a free base pack every single week. 3 cards. There's a silver pack for $2.99 or a gold pack, 2 gold cards and a guaranteed silver card every single week. That's $4.99. Get involved. There's other perks as well. Discounts, bonuses, you name it. Check them all out on the Ultimate Fan app. Download it right now from the link in the description.
They've got to respond. You're absolutely right. They've had the shield, haven't they, all season, of Rafa Benitez. They knew, which a lot of people did point out before he was appointed, that if things started to go a little bit awry, he was the fella who was going to be getting the flack, and they could hide behind him. But I think fans have definitely wised up to the fact that a lot of these have let lots of managers down. You can put stuff down to tactics, of course you can. You can put stuff down to playing people out of position and all of that. But when you cross the white line, you've got to run your bollocks off for your team. You've got to work hard and get on with it. Rafa Benitez, we said before, there was mitigating circumstances. Everton still haven't been able to put their best 11 players on the pitch, and it's the 22nd of January when we play. And we haven't not been able to field your best 11, and it's in January. It's not happened once. That's crazy. So any manager would have struggled. Don't make things worse, and that's what he did. So these players, you're absolutely right. They've run out of excuses now. The weekend, they've got to go out and give the fans something to feed off. Yeah. And the players will then feed off the electricity coming from the sides and, from the stadium. And Villa are a good side, but they're not unbeatable by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, if Everton win, we go within a point of them. So, that's the incentive. You can get close to these and start to turn the narrative a little bit.
Villa were in a very similar rut to what we're in, weren't they, before they brought Steven Gerrard in. They went after a young, hungry manager who has massive standards, who demands so much of his players, and that's why they went for him. And I think that's a lesson for Everton. That's where it starts. It starts with a manager who his standards have got to be in line with what the club want or what the fans want. And I think, you know, you've got that at Villa now, and he's starting to bring players in and have an influence and just demand more. And I think that's, I don't know whether, I'm not saying Rafa Benitez didn't demand, but I think if you don't set up in a way that gets the best out of players, or looks at the system and says, well, this is how we're going to stop the opposition, this is how we're going to get the best of our team. That's what Rafa Benitez has never done that. Certainly with playing two in midfield. I think that when you do that, and you're as a player, if you haven't got the best team and you're asking for help, if you're looking for help from your manager to set you up in a certain way that's going to help you, it's not going out in the right way. And I think that's where Duncan Ferguson's got to get it right on Saturday, is understanding straight away where our weaknesses, where our problems lie, setting us up to get the best out of the players we've got. And I just don't think Benitez done that. But as I said, you can learn from Villa. You can see what Villa have done. It's all about standards, because it doesn't matter who comes into the side. If you're not doing the basics, like stopping crosses, and we saw that last week against Norwich, you know, players allowing crosses to come into the box. The first goal, if someone stops that cross, it's already dealt with. And then you get, you know, you watch the best teams in the league, how they press and how they get around. They don't allow those situations to happen. They don't allow the ball to get into the box in the first place. And that's where Everton have got to start improving, and players demanding more out of each other. And again, I think that's what Gerrard's done at Villa, and they're on a decent little run. But you can see already just players fighting for each other and him demanding it, and that's where Everton have got to go. They really have to, because the standards of this club have just been so low for so long that I think we've forgotten. It's like last year when we brought James Rodriguez in, and you're watching him and you're thinking, that's what a good footballer looks like. The golfing class. You forget. Sometimes you have good players and you look at them. You look at them and you judge them by the other players you've got and go, oh yeah, they're a good player. But then someone comes in and you go, wow, no, that's a good player. That's a good player. And that's what Everton have got to start doing. They've got to start fighting. And if one fights and it goes to the next person, then goes to the next person, you can start weeding out the ones who aren't fighting for you. But the problem has we've had such little fight from this team that it just becomes a collective. And it becomes just one big problem. Everton have got to get to the stage where someone can turn around to the next one and go, why aren't you pulling your weight? Definitely. And that's been a big problem this year. You got players like Michael Keane, who just, you don't always see, sometimes with someone like Michael Keane, how bad a game he's having, because the fella next to him's having such a bad game, and then the fella next to him. But last week, it was so obvious, just in some of the performances. And that has to change now. That has to really change. There has to be people on the pitch who demand more as well. Demand more. And as I said, that starts in the dugout and filters onto the pitch. And hopefully we see a little bit of that.
It's all percentages, isn't it, as well, with the Premier League? If you're talking about setting up a team, you can set up a team many different ways, different managers, but if the players aren't really buying into what the manager's saying, the performance can drop a couple of percent. And that's all it needs at times. You know, or you haven't done drills off set plays, or you haven't done, different things in training that maybe they want to work on a bit more, or something's alien to them. You can just go asleep for that 1 minute behind. I think, just looking at the form table there, both teams are the same. Last 5 Premier League games, both have won 1, drew 1 and lost 3. In fact, Everton's record's actually better over the last 6, because we beat Hull in the cup and they went out. So, in the Premier League, both got the same record over the last 5 games, which neither are in amazing form. They look like Gerrard's getting them the way they want to play, certainly. So, like I said before, it's a very tough game, but it also represents it's a home game with the crowd. My opinion is Everton should be winning every home game, or certainly trying to win every single home game. Front foot's important. Don't do what Benitez had us doing in a lot of games, which is feel them out in the first 15 minutes, sit back. A lot of times we conceded the first goal by then. Get out and get at them, put them on the back foot, get the crowd up, get an early shot away or something and really get the place bouncing. Sitting back, going, let's see what these have got. You no chance.
Benitez tactics in terms of how, the two midfield, we were always outnumbered.
But sorry, because when he played 4-2-3-1, it wasn't glaring with Allen and the core.
No, it's
and
not.
Then you had Richarlison in the 10. Because that could become a 4-5.
No, I know, but
it was more.
The problem is though, when you don't have Mina and you've got a weak defence, and they're bypassing the midfield, and then it puts all the emphasis on the defence. Then, whereas early in the season, because we were on the front foot playing on the counter attack, and we were defending more as a unit, and players were probably a little bit fresher, it was different. The minute you see where the struggle is, or as the season starts, don't forget, when the season starts evolving and people work you out, it becomes easier. That first month of the season is always a bit of a lottery in terms of results, because you haven't been found out yet.
And we lost the Corey, didn't we, at an important time.
And once confident goes and play, three in midfield to me, it's got to happen to protect the back four. Okay, hopefully Mina will be available to start, hopefully. But we've got to get, because you can't play counter-attacking football if you can't defend. It's as simple as that. If you can't win the ball in midfield and then, turn it round and get on the counter-attack, there's no counter-attack if you can't defend. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So Everton have got to be on the front foot, and if that means bypassing the midfield at times and going long and going into the corners and using the pace of Gray and using the pace of Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, then so be it. But Everton have got to be on the front foot, and that doesn't mean getting the ball down and making 10 passes in a row. That just means getting to the heart of their problems and keeping the ball away from where it hurts us.
Yeah.
And that's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Play to your strengths. It's what we saw, when Duncan Ferguson was in charge last time. Play to your strengths, and I think that's where Benitez went wrong, because he wasn't doing that, and he was putting so much pressure on our back four, who in turn are garbage. They are, aren't they? There's no defending them. They're garbage. They're absolutely garbage. As a unit, they were poor, very, very poor.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was trying to teach them or what they were doing on set pieces, but as a unit, were very, very, very poor. That could be changed around just by having one player like Mina in there, and maybe, whoever partners him feels a little bit more secure, and then it'll be interesting to see what he does at right back, whether he thinks now's the time to bring Patterson in or he sticks with Seamus Coleman. It's going to be interesting, but he is helped by having Richarlison back. He is helped by having Mina back, but it's getting those confidence levels up. That's the big thing for me.
With players, you've got to get into their ear, and Richarlison is someone like that, and he's someone who, ironically, that Chelsea game, and Duncan had it last time, really, him and Dominic Calvert-Lewin really carried it. When you think back to that Chelsea game, his midfield too that day with Gylfi Sigurdsson and Morgan Schneider, and he had Alex Iwobi on the right.
Yeah.
And
Theo Walcott.
And Theo on the other side, and he got them, they all worked, the socks off. We had Richarlison and Dom, and it worked that day, and I'm not saying it'd be carbon copy this time, I'm just saying he energised that team that had just trudged off the pitch at Anfield a couple of days before and being spanked. We've got to get that into the players immediately. If they do that, everyone in the stadium will be up for it, because they'll see that.
Front foot, innit?
And then you can squeeze those little bits out of it then, and then we can get Villa on the back foot, and we can score goals in that team. Damari Gray's been great. Dom, we know, if Dom gets a goal, the confidence is up again. Richie was back with a worldie last week. We've got likes of Anthony Gordon, maybe we got Andros Townsend on the bench as well, who can give a little spark, so it's being solid for me. Everton have got to be solid at the weekend and not give anything away, and keep it nice and tight, and because we continue to cause our own problems.
Yeah.
And I think when you do that, you're always chasing your tail, aren't you?
Definitely. I mean, we've seen that last week. First goal, Michaelenko, just not getting in tight, just not appreciating.
And Keane sticking a leg out.
Keane just sticking a leg out, and then the second goal, giving the ball away high up the field and being caught the other way. That's against a very poor side.
Yeah.
So it's about those concentration levels. It's about being switched on. It's about being on the front foot. It's about setting yourself up to go out and win a game of football.
Yeah.
Because there's very winnable games coming up. Very winnable games in the next few, weeks after the...
To be honest, this is this is like a best little run we're going to have, I think, because otherwise, after that, there's a tough one, then one winnables. So it could shape our season. The next 5 games are they're tough, don't get me wrong, because there's no easy games, especially with us, but these next 5 shape whether we're going to be down to our knuckles by May or not. We have to start somewhere, don't we?
Oh, this is a good opportunity. It's a good opportunity, as you said. As you just mentioned there, Villa's record is, as I said, I think they feel like they're going in the right direction, but it's just been pulled back
Brentford
a little bit.
Just beat them a couple of weeks ago, and that was Brentford's first win since they beat us.
Yeah.
So, Norwich went to Brentford and won there. So it's all a little bit topsy-turvy.
Yeah.
You're right, perception is Villa are like that, but you can change that perception by winning. And Everton, that's what Everton knows to do.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Villa, you're talking about 3 in midfield there. I kind of agree with you. Just out of interest, what 3 would you go with?
I think that's the difficult thing, though, isn't it? That's the difficult thing.
Do you throw Gabamon in there?
It's obviously
well off it, or do you
the
throw
core,
Gomez?
obviously Alan,
Gomez.
and yeah, defensively.
Or do you ask Townsend to be the third
I think Townsend's probably more of a he's got the mobility to get around the pitch. That's probably more likely. If you ask him to do maybe if he's on the right of a 3, that's he will get in there and he will work hard for you and he'll press and he gives you something offensively a little bit more. Gomez is defensively terrible, like one of the worst players in the Premier League defensively in midfield.
Those numbers show that.
And if they press in midfield, when he's on the ball, they'll take it off him. We've seen that last week. So he hasn't got the pace for what maybe we need.
He's
so
more of a last 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Man,
So maybe it might be Townsend.
Could be a Townsend.
But
they
maybe
do play 3 in midfield.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe with me in the back, he'll think he can play 4-2-3-1 because and try and look at it and say, well, no, we're playing at home. We want to go and win. We need to win. I trust that if we have enough of the ball going forward, and those 2 work hard and Mina playing.
Well, if we look at Villa formation from, it'll probably be last week, won't it? They have a 4-3-3 as well. The interesting one there, of course, is Douglas Luiz because he is like the metronome for them and he's in there. If you play that 4-2-3-1 and Richarlison is in the 10, he has to go and look after Richarlison then. And it can take him out the midfield a little bit. And obviously the other 2, they've got Buendia. They're very attacking. I think Ollie Watkins in there, Buendia in there, Jacob Ramsey, who had a great game against United.
I think where we've really struggled, especially with the 2 in midfield, is when the opposition play a striker who drops off into the hole or a split striker who drops off into the hole and nobody knows who to pick up then. That's when we've really, really struggled. And maybe that's where, you've seen it last week, that kid got in his first goal, going in the hole, not quite knowing where to pick him up. That's where we'll have to look at the situation and think, right, if we match them up, we've got players then to come off the bench. And it is a starting point. And it's whether you look at it and go, right, we have 3 midfield. Do we have enough players who can hurt these? Well, Gray, Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, you'd suggest could. And then you're looking for that little bit extra. Are we going to get enough out of our full-backs to create the extra width?
Would you play Coleman or would you give Patterson his debut?
I don't know because I don't... Hand on heart, I think...
It'd be Luca Dean coming down that side. Seamus
was just terrible last week, truly terrible. Like one of the worst games I've ever seen.
But he took him off after 50.
Yeah, he was terrible. He was absolutely terrible. He was terrible. I don't know because the simple fact is I don't know what level Patterson's at. Yeah. I really don't, and that's where it makes. And I don't know what Dunk wants to do. It's when a manager comes in, it's always difficult to know what he's going to do because it's always so from that point of view. How do you Patterson? You'd say, well, just throw him in, but Michaelenko hasn't had a very good start, and I'm not, because it is his start, and it's a very difficult situation.
It is hard to know because we don't know whether Dunk will go. I'm going to leave Keane centre back, put me in alongside, but Godfrey at right back. That's how we finished at Norwich. Say Coleman out, or is he going to go? Michaelenko, just for this, he's struggling a little bit. I'll put Godfrey at left back. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing, isn't it? Whereas, I mean, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, well, you'd have Mina and Godfrey centre backs because I'd take Michael Keane out the moment. I think he's struggling like anything. I'd have him on the
I think obviously these have got pace up front.
Mobility.
But Godfrey with
Godfrey and Mina for me.
Yeah.
And I will be tempted to give Patterson his debut just because he's good going forward and he's quick. And Luca Dean's Dean isn't quick, but I think
the only worry about that though, Baz, is that you need three in midfield who can who give you that protection. You'd have to
Townsend to be there for me.
You'd have to make sure that someone protected, and if he got forward,
drop in or whatever.
Yeah, so
listen, I'm just
yeah.
He'll do anything. Could play for all we know. Could go 4-4-1-1. Now for Charlison in that 10 just off Dom, and he could have Andros Townsend right midfield and De Gray on the left, or he could have Gordon on the right and Gray on the left, and Decore and Allen. I think I'd like to see the three midfield though. But let's have a look at Ollie Watkins, who we've targeted as someone who's to watch. 17 appearances, he's got 5 goals and 1 assist. The average is 2.2 shots per game.
He obviously scored the opening goal last season against us at Goodison after a horrendous mistake by Mason Holgate, who'd already done it in that game. The old I'll turn back, fell over, took the ball off him and went through.
Live wide though, Watkins, and even without he hasn't scored loads of goals, but without that
pacey
movements,
got a good eye for goal,
works hard,
obviously helps with the press.
You've got Danny Ings, who's
mobile. When Danny Ings plays, he's interesting because when he plays, he does drop into that number 10 role, and if we were to play it too, he would cause havoc because the way he picks it up, because he plays it too, but then when he drops, then Watkins, but obviously the former Ramsey recently, who's gone into the side, the young lad, he's scoring goals, and obviously scored the first last week against Manchester United, and now they've got the threat, of Coutinho as well. So
it's up to Everton to put them on the back foot. Put them on the back foot, compete. Go in.
See again though, if he decides he wants to start Coutinho and he plays him in one of those forward 3 positions, then that becomes very interesting because he'll try and drop into a number 10 role, and again then that becomes that's where it's one of those where they've got new players, we've got a new manager. You've got to Everton almost got to set up and forget what Villa are looking to do.
You've got to put it on you. You've got to trust that the formation you put out and the work rate the players are going to put in will negate what they do. It's like when you're playing a top side, just going off dunk last time because you'd have to. It was 2 years ago, but we were playing Chelsea, we were unbeaten in 17 or 18 games and full of world-class players and had world-class players on the bench. So you have to just worry about what you're going to do, because you can't go, well, what if they do that and what if they bring him on and he's going to be everywhere and they're going to be doing this and going to be doing that. You've got to just go, we have to be compact. If you lose the ball, you get it back. Your runners, that day under Ferguson, we made 36 tackles in the game, which was more than they had done for 10 years or so. So you have to do your work. You battle and get in people's faces and work hard. Leeds are brilliant at it. Leeds haven't got a great side, but they all fight and work the bollocks off, and they get results from it. Okay, it hasn't been great this season, but they're still always in every game. And that's what you have to do. And I think if everyone puts the effort in, the crowd will appreciate it, and we've got much more of a chance of getting a result than waltzing around the pitch or playing on the back foot and hoping for something. Everton have lost this fixture last year 2-1, but they hadn't lost back-to-back home games against Villa since 98. Villa looking to do the first double over Everton since 2000-2001 season. Which was a grim season.
Was that when Paul Mason?
Might have, the Paul Gerrard one. 89th minute and he fell over. Everton were joint 5th in the clean sheet rankings in the Premier League last season, recording 12 shutouts. This season, only Newcastle and Watford have kept fewer clean sheets.
There you go, that tells its own story.
Everton have taken just 5 points from their last 12 Premier League games. The fewest they've taken since between August and October 1994.
Jesus.
Which was obviously when Mike Walker was out and Joe coming, wasn't it? Villa have conceded 7 goals in their last 3 Premier League games, more than they had done in their previous 7 in the competition. That's interesting. So suggesting under Gerrard they're a little bit more open. Everton have scored fewer first half goals than any other Premier League team. Only scored 5 in the first half. The Toffees have failed to score before half-time in their last 5 games in the Premier League.
Shocking.
Last having a longer such run between December 2017 and January 2018. Big Sam. Everton have conceded the first goal in their last 8 Premier League games. 1 win, 1 draw, 6 defeats. Their longest run in Premier League history. Their previous longest run was a 7-game run between April and August 1997.
It's all a bit grim, isn't it?
So, I mean, well, you see, when you're asked about Rafa Benitez and, you know, oh, Everton, they sacked him because the Everton fans just wanted them out. The minute you start reading the stats of things that have gone on this season, all the evidence is in front of you.
It's all there.
Yes, he had some mitigating circumstances, as I said before.
But it's up to you as a manager to change those.
You've got to solve the problems, haven't you? So there you go.
And that starts at the back. If you can keep clean sheets, you'll get points.
You get
points. And he couldn't do that. And
which is mad, because I thought that'd be the thing he did. Crazy.
There you go. There you go. Duncan Ferguson's first game in charge.
In his second caretaker spell.
It's going to be an interesting one.
Let's hope it goes like his first one.
Let's hope it does go like his first one. 3 points, please. We need them because we are in a
horrible position.
Mess. Massive.
Villa can have a good run after this one.
Yeah. So let us know your thoughts in the comments on this one. Your confidence. What do you think the feeling around the ground is going to be like? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you want great live videos, this is live right now over on Patreon. Join us on Patreon. We do daily live videos. And make sure to play Ultimate Fan as well. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching. See you later.